Hello and thank you. I'm James Jack, the head of the Business Owners Client segment for UBS Wealth Management USA. Welcome back for another episode of Founders and Funders. I'm excited to continue the conversation with women entrepreneurs, focusing on how they built, exited, and are supporting successful businesses. I invite you to subscribe to the Founders and Funders playlist on UBS's YouTube channel so you can keep up to date on all of the episodes in the series. For this month's conversation, I'd like to welcome back our very own Jolene Caruso Fitzgerald to moderate the discussion. Jolene is one of our divisional vice chairmen in the firm's ultra high net worth division within Global Wealth Management. She oversees the family office consultants business, which consists of the firm's top wealth advisors who serve our largest, most sophisticated clients. Jolene, over to you.
Great. Thanks, James. And thank you to our viewers for joining us today for part one of our two-part series, Founders and Funders with Jill Johnson. Jill is the co-founder and CEO of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, IFEL, a nonprofit that supports economic development through entrepreneurship for people of color. Jill has nearly 30 years experience as a business strategist and an advocate for community businesses and micro enterprise, and she is a leading authority in the area of minority inclusion in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. In 2019, Jill and IFEL launched Women of Color Connecting, which intends to utilize relationship capital to help women of color entrepreneurs grow, scale, and exit their businesses. Jill, hello, and welcome to Founders and Funders. I am so excited to reconnect with you and talk about entrepreneurship and expanding angel investing. So let's jump right in. So Jill, let's start with you and IFEL. What inspired you to start this amazing organization, and what is its mission?
Well, our mission is really about supporting people in their journey to be successful in entrepreneurship. And really, success in entrepreneurship is about being able to create a legacy through wealth. That wealth may be at different levels for different people, but one of the things that we see is that not enough people of color are, and women as well, are able to utilize entrepreneurship as a path to wealth creation and building assets. And that is really our focus. Now, about my journey, and actually it starts in that same vein. My parents were entrepreneurs. They had a newspaper publishing business for 20 years. It was a great business. They gave a lot of people their first jobs. They were amazing community partners. They did a lot in the community where the newspaper started in Plainfield, New Jersey, and then moved to Newark, New Jersey. They brought people together. It was a great operation. It was also grueling. So after 20 years, when they decided that they wanted to retire and move on to doing something else and taking it down a notch, unfortunately, they had not created the business in a way that they could really extract the value that they had created over all those 20 years. It was great doing that work. They enjoyed it. But for me, it was actually heartbreaking to see that they weren't able to, again, extract value from that. And so my father and I started the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership together to be an organization that could support entrepreneurs who do not have that support system, the network, the relationships, and even in many ways, just the know-how because they don't have those networks around them. And that's what the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership is all about.
You are so fortunate to have had that lifetime experience of working in a family business or seeing that firsthand. And I'm sure your businesses under you have thrived because of that experience. So let's turn to the last year we have all been involved in. Business owners have been at the epicenter of the many challenges our world has faced over the last year given the pandemic. How have things evolved for IFEL specifically and the businesses that you are working with?
Well, Jolene, we have been busier than ever because of the challenges that small businesses have been facing over the last year. Now, what I want to point out, though, is that many of the businesses that we serve were struggling pre-pandemic, and the issues around the pandemic simply exacerbated the issues that they have faced for many, many years. Being undercapitalized really led to these businesses having difficulty weathering the storm. And the businesses that were able to survive COVID and that were able to bounce back or even, thrive during that time, it was really because they had resources. They had a longer runway, as we like to call it. That runway is what enables you to move beyond challenges, to fail forward, as people like to say. If you don't have that runway, that's very difficult to do. And so when there is the slightest disruption, your business really is in jeopardy of failure. And that is what we saw during the pandemic. It was not that there was a disproportionate impact just due to the pandemic. It's that the pandemic was disproportionately impacting these communities that have been under siege for a long, long time.
Really interesting. So let's talk about now the angel investing aspect and capital. And we're going to talk more about this in part 2 of our session. But let's stick for a moment with entrepreneurs, particularly women. What are the most critical areas that they need to be focused on, and what resources should they be aware of?
Wow, we could talk about that for hours and hours.
And Jill, maybe you can play into this Women of Color Connecting, because you've created this amazing ecosystem for these women to get the right investors. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and Jolene, I like to position it really around relationships. Relationships are so, so, so important. And I really believe that we don't put enough emphasis on relationships. Everyone talks about knowledge and getting more training and building skills, or they're talking about investment. But so much of that on both sides really comes from relationships. Often we see that businesses that are started and grown by white men, what they have around them is a network that can provide the knowledge, the education, the support. And those same people are often providing the investment dollars, they're providing the capital. And who better to give you advice than your investors? Unfortunately, we don't see enough of that for women, nor for people of color, and especially when you get to the intersection of that, for women of color. And through our Women of Color Connecting initiative, that's really what we're trying to bring to the table. It is about helping the people who say that they care about inclusion and that diversity matters, those investors who say that they want to broaden their horizons. It is about introducing them to amazing entrepreneurs who happen to be women and happen to be people of color, and getting them connected so that we can really focus on creating a more inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Jill, how have you sourced the circles? Has it been challenging to find these interested investors who want to connect with your businesses? Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Sure. So, Jolene, I've had the good fortune of just some great experiences. I attended Harvard. I have a network from that. I started my career at Goldman Sachs in the financial analyst program, 2 years in New York and a year in Chicago in mergers and acquisitions. I have a great network from that. My husband is a Wharton undergraduate alum. He has a great network. He's worked at some great companies. I am connected. And it's been through that, again, that I have actually seen and understood firsthand the power of relationships. I feel very fortunate. And what my objective is to use that network that I've developed to broaden, to be an extension, essentially, for the entrepreneurs that we serve. And so you ask if it's been easy. You know what? One thing I have to be very, I feel fortunate about is that over the last year, because people have been locked down, I've had the ability to connect with so many people who do believe that this is very important and they want to get involved. So are there enough people who are raising their hand to get involved? I'd like to see more. But we really have an amazing community that has stepped up, has come forward and said, we want to be involved and we want to help in whatever way we can. And they have been doing that.
Thank you so much, Jill. I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation with you about the importance of the angel investing ecosystem for entrepreneurs and what you're doing to support that. So please stay tuned for part 2 with Jill Johnson.